The UN Security Council is holding its first ever meeting on the potential threats of artificial intelligence to global peace. It comes after UN Chief Antonio Guterres, alongside AI experts, sounded the alarm over AI being an existential threat to humanity, especially if it was used as a weapon in nuclear warfare. Well, our diplomatic editor James Bays is reporting now from the United Nations in New York. James, is this about raising awareness, or are they actually going for something more tangible?
Well, I think it's starting a conversation. They know that AI is something that is going to affect the world, change the world. In the words of the Secretary-General who spoke at the beginning of the Security Council meeting, it's going to be similar to when the printing press was introduced. But he said the printing press took 30 years for books to spread across Europe. Across the world now, according to him, we have 100 million users of ChatGPT. So there is certainly a problem here for the UN, which has to think about, and the international community, which has to think about how to regulate AI, because global governance works very, very slowly. This new technology is moving very, very fast indeed. Now, this meeting was called by the UK. They're the current president of the Security Council. And earlier I spoke to the UK Foreign Secretary, who was presiding over the Security Council meeting.
Well, we do have to keep these things in context and balance. And AI will have an amplifying effect. It will make things quicker, it will make things cheaper, it will make it easier to do things at scale. And there are huge benefits that we can derive from that in terms of medical research and alleviating poverty and a whole load of things that will be unlocked. But it will also have the opportunity to amplify the risks and challenges that we already face. Disinformation, for example, deep fakes, research into weapons technology, which can be very easily done by non-state actors. And so what we need to do is we need to come together internationally, multilaterally, to discuss how we protect ourselves from the potential downsides whilst unlocking all the benefits. That's what we're going to be doing today at the UN Security Council. We'll be briefed by international experts on this, and we'll start a conversation that will flow into the work that we're doing later on this year in our AI Safety Summit in the UK.
In terms of weapons, there seems to already be an AI arms race with countries working out how to weaponize AI. You are the UK's chief diplomat, but you have a military background. How worried are you about some of these autonomous weapons systems?
Well, we already have structures. We have legal structures. We have international human rights law. And that's doing a pretty good job. But of course, what we need to do is we need to make sure that this stuff is always match fit, that it is always alive to the emerging challenges. I think it can do that, and I think that working internationally will give us the opportunity to do that. But we do need to move quickly. We need to make decisions in fora like this and other multilateral institutions. But I would suggest that it would be inappropriate for us to focus on just that, or to overly focus on that. That is a risk, of course it is, but we've also seen how damaging disinformation can be, how damaging widespread fraud, hacking. So it's not just in the weapon systems, although those are attention-grabbing issues, but also in these other areas as well.
Because these weapon systems already exist. There's an Israeli company, Elbit, which has offices too in the UK, which has been integrating AI into its products. Something called Legion X is an automated network combat solution based on robotic platforms. Now, this is the same company that its drones were being used in the West Bank, in Jenin. This is already a problem.
Well, I don't know the details of that particular product or project, but the point is that that is something that of course we will look at, but we have to make sure that we look at the full range of opportunities and risks and challenges. There is a danger that we focus exclusively on the headline grabbing risks, important that they are, but then miss other areas where we could be exposed. So the important discipline is to make sure that we look right across the piece at all the potential applications of AI.
So how do you go about regulating AI? Voluntary agreement, codes of conduct, or do you have a binding international treaty?
Well, the truth is, at this stage, the most appropriate way of regulating We don't know, none of us do. But form follows function. So once we have had this international conversation, which we are playing our part in as the UK here today and at our AI Safety Summit, as we have that conversation with industry, with governments, with technologists, we will be able to see the most effective way. And effective has got to be what we focus on. But the most effective way at the moment, we can't possibly know, because we need to understand more about the current state of the technology and the way the technology is going to evolve.
But the worry is this is moving so fast. And as you know, global governance, just look at climate change, moves so slowly.
Well, I think there's a real incentive to move fast in terms of these conversations and this governance as well, because you're absolutely right. The evolution of this technology, because AI is being used to evolve AI, is moving incredibly quickly. So the challenge for us is to maintain pace, is to maintain energy, is to maintain international cooperation and coordination. And the UK wants to play its part, indeed we are playing our part, to do exactly that.
There's talk of a new international agency like the IAEA perhaps, to deal with AI. But in the current global environment, you were chairing a Security Council meeting recently on Ukraine. Can you see China and Russia signing up to something like that, let alone North Korea or Iran, something like that that had real teeth?
Well, the IAEA does an incredibly important work in keeping the world safe, whilst utilising the positive benefits of nuclear technology. It is a model. It is a potential model. And I think everybody, including the countries that you mentioned, have to understand that if we get this right, everyone will benefit. But if we get this wrong, everyone will lose out, including them. So there is an incentive for us all to work together. There is an incentive for us to put aside our differences on other files and in other areas and focus relentlessly on getting this right.
Finally, you're setting up this summit of world leaders on AI later in the year. I have to ask you, is the UK the right place for such a summit? You are a NATO member, and we've just talked about the divisions in the world. Wouldn't it be better to have this in a neutral place?
Well,
is President Xi or President Putin going to come?
So I don't regard our membership of NATO as a barrier to this at all. I mean, we should remember that the UK has a unique cluster of world-class universities and research institutions. We have a very, very active, high-performing venture capital environment in the UK, and the combination of those two means our tech sector is disproportionately successful. So we have a lot of knowledge in the UK in this area. We've got the right language, we've got the right time zone, and we've got that convening power that we are very, very proud of. We do not pretend that we have all the answers, but we are part of the process of finding out those answers.